If you see somebody beside you
Si ustedes ven a alguien al lado suyo
throwing something,
tirando algo,
beat the fucking shit out of them.
péguenle.
Hey, take that! Take that! Now, hit that guy and take that! I'll take it, goddammit! Well, thanks to the lame-ass security, I'm going home.
Axl Rose stories are rock and roll legends. The lead singer of Guns N' Roses has lived such a wild life that even his roadies have stories to tell. Whether he's starting random fights, walking off stage mid-concert, taking down moths with a shotgun, or showing up hours late. Here are some crazy Axl Rose stories you probably have never heard before. Guns N' Roses burst onto the scene in 1987, right in the middle of the spandex and glitter era of hair metal, bringing a raw, rough, and violent edge that cut through the glam nonsense. Like many bands of that time, they were known for their hard partying, with days and nights filled with alcohol, drugs, women, and excess. Axl Rose, born William Bruce Rose on February 6, 1962, in Lafayette, Indiana, quickly made a name for himself as a volatile presence once GNR hit it big. It seemed like there was a new Axl Rose scandal every week. The band's overall volatility added to the excitement of their music and performances. Axl's self-destructive energy fueled his rise to the top, but also kept him from staying there. Axl often delayed GNR shows with ridiculous excuses, so when he made a special food request just minutes before going on stage in front of 80,000 fans in Buenos Aires in July 1993, his assistant, Craig Duswalt, panicked but wasn't surprised. The rest of the band was already at the venue, but Axl was still at his hotel, craving chili and cheese, which wasn't on the room service menu. Duswalt knew the show wouldn't start if Axl didn't get what he wanted, so he tried to explain Axl's request to the hotel kitchen staff. An hour later, they delivered a platter with a chunk of cheese and a few chili peppers. Duswalt, desperate, smashed the dish against the wall to distract Axl and blamed the hotel for the mix-up. Axl forgot his craving, and the show went on. When stories about an artist's legendary antics make the rounds among the world's roadies, you know they're pretty wild. But when those stories turn into a verb, you know it's epic, like something straight out of Homer. That's the case with yellow jacketing, a term that started with Axl Rose. While prepping for his TV show Roadies, filmmaker Cameron Crowe interviewed real roadies and uncovered the origins of this term, adding another crazy story to the Axl Rose lore. As Crowe tells it, "I heard some roadies talking about how something had to be yellow jacketed, and I asked, 'What is yellow jacketing?' They said, 'There was a guy who worked with Guns N' Roses, and before a show, Axl Rose needed a yellow jacket he'd left in England. A roadie was given the job to get on a plane as fast as possible, go to London, find Axl's yellow jacket, and come back so he could play the show." One of the many things Axl Rose is notorious for is his chronic lateness. He likes showing up late, sometimes by hours. A DJ from Tampa, Florida saw this problem firsthand in 1991 while working as an assistant to a venue owner. According to the DJ, when the owner asked why Axl was late for the 1,000th time, he was told, Axl's management said he was watching Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, The Secret of the Ooze, and his attention was 100% on the movie and couldn't be bothered. Guns N' Roses was set to sign with Geffen Records in July 1986, a deal that would catapult them to fame with the release of Appetite for Destruction in 1987. However, Axl's eccentric behavior nearly derailed the whole thing. On the morning of the meeting, Rose couldn't find his contact lenses and decided someone had stolen them. Axl refused to attend the meeting, threw a tantrum, and stormed off while the rest of the band frantically searched for the missing lenses. Manager Vicky Hamilton recalls, "What was going through Axl's head was, 'Who took my contact lenses so I can't read the contract?'" Slash eventually found the lenses in a pair of Axl's pants and tracked him down on the roof of the Whiskey A Go Go. The band showed up about 4 hours late to the meeting, but fortunately, Some of the record executives were still waiting for them. A lot went wrong when two of the biggest heavy bands in the world, Metallica and Guns N' Roses, rolled into Montreal on August 8, 1992. During Metallica's set, James Hetfield was seriously burned in a pyrotechnic accident, cutting their show short. While Hetfield was rushed to the hospital, promoters scrambled to get GNR on stage, which took 2 hours and 15 minutes. Guns N' Roses only played 9 songs that night. Usual set lists on the tour had almost 20 songs. The band was off-kilter from the start. Axl was having trouble with the monitor speakers and, instead of finding someone to fix the issue, broke his microphone, sat down on the monitors, and then walked off stage, never to return. His bad performance may have been a self-fulfilling prophecy. He apparently believed bad juju befell the band in cities beginning with M. Fans rioted when they realized GNR wasn't coming back. Piles of t-shirts were set on fire, police cars were overturned, and the stadium's souvenir shop was looted. Meanwhile, backstage, Axl drank champagne with groupies while his management argued with the concert promoters, and the rest of the band partied like it was 1999. Even at 44, Axl Rose was still up to his classic wild man antics. While on tour in Sweden in 2006, he was arrested for allegedly biting a security guard in the leg. The guard was trying to break up an argument between Rose and a woman in a hotel lobby, and somehow ended up getting attacked by the rock star. When the police arrived, Rose was drunk, aggressive, and had to be restrained. He was left in a cell overnight because he was too intoxicated to be properly questioned. After admitting to the charges, Rose was fined $5,500 and had to pay $1,300 to the security guard. On July 2, 1991, Guns N' Roses performed at the Riverport Amphitheater near St. Louis. In the middle of Rocket Queen, Axl spotted someone in the audience taking pictures and demanded security take the camera. When his request was ignored, Axl jumped into the audience mid-song, grabbed the camera, and attacked the fan and several security team members. Climbing back on stage, he yelled, "Well, thanks to the lame-ass security, I'm going home." He then threw down the mic and stormed off. The rest of the band followed, and thousands of fans stormed the stage, destroyed the band's equipment, and tore down fences and video screens. Rose was charged with inciting a riot but wasn't arrested until almost a year later. In response, GNR added, "Fuck you, St. Louis," in the thank you section of Use Your Illusion 2 artwork. According to Craig Duswalt, one of Axl's former assistants, the rock star had some unusual ideas about bug extermination. In the early 1990s, after the release of the Use Your Illusion albums, a moth got trapped in Rose's Malibu home. His assistants tried to shoo it out, but were unsuccessful. Axl decided to take matters into his own hands. Instructing Duswalt to keep an eye on the moth, Rose went upstairs and returned with a shotgun. He asked Duswalt to trap the moth in a corner so he could get a clean shot, despite his assistant's attempts to convince him he could reach it with a fly swatter. "Not going to happen," said Rose as he pulled the trigger. The Concorde was a supersonic jet that could fly more than twice the speed of sound, cutting hours off flight times and operating commercially from 1976 to 2003. Needless to say, tickets were not cheap. While on tour in France during the summer of 1992, Axl Rose bought his girlfriend Stephanie Seymour a stuffed elephant for her birthday. To get the elephant to Seymour in New York City, he bought it a seat on the Concorde for $10,000. A roadie named Big Ron gained some unexpected fame when he took over lead vocals for Guns N' Roses at the Omni Coliseum in Atlanta on November 20, 1987. During the show, Axl Rose jumped off stage and punched several police officers before being arrested and taken away. According to the head of security at the time, Axl struck multiple Atlanta police officers, including a female officer, which led to his arrest. Fortunately, the concert promoter intervened and persuaded security to release Axl under the condition that he apologized. Axl agreed and signed a written apology, but later changed his tune and directed profanities at one of the cops. Meanwhile, Big Ron stepped in and sang some classic covers, backed by extended guitar and drum solos. Promoter Charlie Brusco recalled the chaotic scene. "I heard this awful sound. I looked up, and one of the road crew guys was singing. Eventually, the show was called off once it became clear that Axl was headed to jail. Adriana Smith, a 19-year-old stripper and Guns N' Roses groupie, was dating drummer Steven Adler in 1987 when she became immortalized on the band's debut album, Appetite for Destruction. Seeking revenge after Adler had an affair with another woman, Smith had a drunken encounter with Axl Rose. She dropped by the band while they were recording in New York City, and Axl suggested recording their encounter in the vocal booth for use on the track Rocket Queen. Smith was initially hesitant, but eventually agreed after some Jack Daniels was involved. According to sources close to Guns N' Roses, Adler surprisingly didn't react as negatively as expected, believing Smith's involvement could benefit the band in some way. Not as widely known as Axl Rose's love for partying is his fondness for naps. Perhaps the excesses of his youth caught up with him, but age hasn't toned down Rose's demands, though the nature of those demands has certainly evolved. In 2011, during a tour with Steel Panther, Panther vocalist Michael Starr experienced this firsthand. As Starr recounted to the New Zealand Herald in 2016, Axl closed off the whole left side of the arena from any noise for 4 hours while he took a nap. We had to retreat to a dressing room where no one could tune guitars or be on stage for 4 hours. That's heavy metal, and it's pretty funny. It seems even rock stars need their quiet time. During a Guns N' Roses festival show in 2006, while performing You Could Be Mine from the Terminator 2 soundtrack, Axl Rose did something quite unusual for a vocalist. He walked off stage to confront the crew, leaving the band to figure out how to end the song without vocals. This kind of behavior isn't typical even among singers, but then again, Axl Rose isn't your typical frontman. Rose became upset with the crew mid-song and stopped singing to address them off stage. Meanwhile, the band continued playing, trying to finish the song without him. Rose sarcastically berated a crew member through the mic, mentioning taking naps on the job. After briefly returning to the stage, he didn't attempt to rejoin the band. Once the song ended, Rose publicly chastised the crew over the mic, questioning their competence and even jokingly asking if they were on Quaaludes. The tensions between Axl Rose and Nirvana escalated dramatically during the 1992 MTV Video Music Awards. Axl, who was impressed with Nirvana and their album Nevermind, had initially invited Kurt Cobain and his band to perform at his birthday party and join Guns N' Roses and Metallica on a tour. However, Cobain declined, expressing disdain for what he saw as corporate rock. At the VMAs, the conflict came to a head when Courtney Love, Cobain's wife, sarcastically asked Axl to be the godfather of their child upon seeing him backstage. This infuriated Axl, who threatened Cobain, saying, "You shut your bitch up or I'm taking you down to the pavement." Cobain responded sarcastically to Love with, "Shut up, bitch," which elicited laughter at Rose's expense and prompted him to storm off. Later, tensions continued to flare as Duff McKagan of Guns N' Roses confronted Krist Novoselic of Nirvana, and Dave Grohl taunted Rose from the stage. Some members of Guns N' Roses even attempted to tip over Nirvana's trailer, unaware that Cobain's daughter was inside napping. Additionally, Cobain left spitballs on what he thought was Axl's keyboard, only to realize later that it belonged to Elton John. The incident at the VMAs underscored the deep-seated animosity between the two bands during that era of rock music.